Hi guys, Tracy here with another holiday themed layout. I'm going to use the Most Wonderful Time of the Year kit, and before I do, I'm going to print up another photo. I have this photo using my new Instax Share printer, which I showed on a previous video, just a quick little, not really review, but just what I like about it. And so check out my previous video, which is actually a contest, so make sure you enter the contest to win a free Scraptastic kit. But in the meantime, I'm just using the software that comes with the printer to print out another Instax print. I want one of each girl on the gymnastics bar. Now my challenge with this photo, or with these two photos, is that I really want to use the Most Wonderful Time of the Year kit, which is the Christmas themed kit from Scraptastic, but the photo has colors that really clash with the traditional color scheme of the green and red that are really dominant in this kit. And so I want to give it a try. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to look okay, but at this point I really want to try, because this layout is going to be amongst my other holiday layouts in the same album, and I don't have my albums be themed at all or tell any overall story. They're just random layouts, but I do want all of my holiday layouts to be together in this album, and I want them to all sort of coordinate in at least a little bit. And so if I can pull off scrapbooking these photos with a Christmas kit, I would really like to. So I started off by deciding right off the bat that I didn't want green, because green I just didn't think was going to work with the purple. So my daughter has purple pajamas on, and then there's a lot of blue in this layout as well. So I'm going to try to stick with just red, and then this kit also has a lot of neutrals. It has white and black and also some cream in it. So I figure I can probably just stick with red and then the neutrals that come in the kit. So I was going to do a horizontal band across the center of this layout, but then I decided to do a vertical band instead. And instead of outlining my paper, I'm going to mat it with this really nice black cardstock that came in the kit. It works the same as outlining. It gives a little bit of emphasis, but it provides a bit more structure, and because the lines are very crisp and perfect, when you mat something, it gives it a little bit more of a formal look and feel, and it's not as wobbly as outlining lines often are, at least when I do them. You can use a ruler if you don't want them wobbly. So I thought about using a doily, and that would have looked fine, but I'm really wanting to emphasize the lines here, so the vertical lines and the vertical orientation of these photos and so on. So I'm looking through the stickers and some of the other things that come in the kit. I decided right off the bat that I wanted that wish list flare badge, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to use the wishes cutout that comes with the kit, and those light Christmas lights wood veneers. I'd like to use one of these tags, but I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do it. I know I want some journaling on this layout, because I need to explain the story behind the gymnastics bar and where it came from. So because it is an unusual Christmas present, our kids don't usually get presents that are that big and expensive. So I have to tell a story about why we got that this year. So I'm just taking out some of the more neutral die cuts, and I'm thinking I might want to use stars as an embellishment, but I don't have a ton of stars in that white glitter paper. Those are from the, what is it called? It's from the Merry and Bright collection from Pink Paisley, of course. I have it written down here, I just couldn't see it. And so I just had a look through all of those embellishments and put the ones that I think might go with this layout over to the side. And now I'm taking out this wood veneer, or not wood veneer, but wood grain embossing folder. It's from the Chamel collection from American Crafts. And sorry that you can't see it very well, but you'll see it in a second there. I'm just going to run it through my Big Shot. And I was going to look through the kit for a piece of cream paper, but the embossing folder itself actually came with a piece of cream paper as the packaging, and so I just decided to go ahead and just emboss that cream paper rather than looking around in the kit and in my stash for a piece, because it was the perfect size and I wanted it to be a vertical oriented rectangle to kind of coordinate with the other vertical rectangles I have going on this layout. So I just ran it through my sewing machine using some silver thread, and did a couple of extra stitches at the top and at the bottom, just because I know that I'm going to have some space at the top and bottom, so I wanted to add some detail there. And now I'm just going to take my scissors and cut it off. You see that that's what the back of the packaging looks like. It's just the packaging that the embossing folder came with. And I love how the wood grain looks embossed on cream like that. It's just such a nice subtle pattern. And again, since I'm trying hard not to introduce any colors besides red on this layout, the cream gives me a nice contrast that it contrasts nicely with both the red and with the black without introducing a new color. So this is what my layout is pretty much going to look like. I now have to glue down the center stripe. I was going to adhere it a little bit off center, but I decided to adhere it perfectly in the center. So I'm going to use my grid mat to help with that. So I just am counting, and it ends up being 5 blocks on each side of center. So, and each of those blocks is a 1/2 inch. And I just, as I lined it up, I made sure that it was 5 blocks over on both the top and on the bottom so that it was perfectly straight. And I'm really liking how that looks for a background. I don't do these sorts of backgrounds very often, so it's nice for me to do something a little bit different than my normal design. You get a little tired. Sometimes it feels like you get in a bit of a rut, so I like to mix it up every once in a while. I do like my kind of go-to designs, but I also like to have something different once in a while. So I glued the photos to themselves, and then I glued the photo to the piece of wood grain embossed paper. And now I'm just going to come up with my title here. And from the very beginning, I knew that I wanted this to be, the title to be Best Present Ever. So I'm just going to take out these letter stickers. These are the journal letter stickers that come with the kit. And they're one of my favorite fonts ever. I like that they're tall and thin, which means that you can spell out some pretty long words in a small space with tall, skinny letters. And I just like that they have a casual look to them. I love black foam letter stickers. It's my favorite ever. So, and these ones have glitter to them, so it's perfect for Christmas. I like to bling it up a little bit more at Christmas time. My normal style doesn't include all that much glitter and bling, but during the holidays, I like to go a little bit more liberal with that kind of stuff. So I really like the readability of these letters as well, and putting them on the main reason that I wanted another element that I chose to be that cream colored cardstock that I embossed was because I wanted good readability for this black title, and I didn't want any part of it to overhang into I didn't want it to go on top of the black, because black on black isn't as readable. So this allows me to have my title kind of go off that center strip of red, but still have some contrast so that it's not black on black. So that's what that cream colored layer does for me. It gives my title a bit of a home. So I'm just orienting those stickers a little bit better because the photos are kind of off-center. They're not completely straight. My title ended up not being completely straight, and so I just wanted to kind of balance it out a little bit and bring down the ENT a little bit. So I thought about maybe using some stamps for embellishments here, but I quickly decided against that. I'm going to go with the embellishments that I've already have picked out here to the side. So I'm going to pull them out now and start trying to decide where they will go. So those wood veneer lights fill up those spaces beside Best and Ever. And I like them. I thought about maybe painting them, or at least painting the lights so that they're multicolored or something. But again, I wanted to stay away from color. So I'm just going to leave them wood. And I love wood elements, so I'm fine with leaving them wooden colored. So now I spread out those stars in 3 different places, and I like how that's looking. But I'm not loving it. I'll tell you why in a second. So first I'm going to take one of these tags, and I'm actually going to use the back side of it. I really like it's like a craft tag, but it's not the orangey craft. It's more of a neutral craft. So I really love the color of it, but I didn't want to use the designs. I just want it to be my typewriting. So I stuck it to a piece of paper and ran it through my typewriter and did my journaling on it. It says the girls wanted a gymnastics bar, but there was no way we could get them something that big. So they chipped in, and with a lot of help from Nana, Papa, Jen, Jeff, Tanya, and Sarah and Steven, we made it happen. So I want to bring some of this red pattern paper up into the corner, which is sort of like this corner is going to balance out the layout because it's all kind of off to the left. So I need something up in the top right hand corner. Wishes is going to go there, and then I'm going to put 2 strips of this red paper, one above and one below my journaling, which is on that neutral craft paper, which I love so much, and it pulls in, it kind of coordinates really nicely with the cream colored cardstock that I used with the wood grain embossing folder, and also the wooden accents on this layout. Because they all have sort of the same tone of an off-white beigey kind of color. So when I cut those, I didn't cut them completely straight, and I'm trying to cut them straighter, but they kind of shift. They're too skinny at this point to cut straight with that trimmer, so I'm just going to pull out my little tiny trimmer here, and it's really great for doing some precision cutting with. So I just had to trim that a little bit better. So now I'm going to glue it to the top and to the bottom, some of which I already did while I was chatting. And now I'm just going to trim it down a little bit so it has nice clean edges. I left it a little bit bigger on purpose because I knew I was going to put strips above and below. And now I'm going to mat this the same way that I matted that center element, only the opposite really. So instead of matting the right and left edges, I'm matting the top and the bottom. And this is a very subtle detail that probably I could have left off because it's laying on a black paper. You can't really see it, but I know it's there and I like it there. So, and it kind of brings that small element to look like it kind of coordinates with the larger element in the center. So I don't have enough stars, but if I add these red stars, then I can spread it does 2 things. Adding the red stars allows me to put 3 pieces of red in a visual triangle on this layout that brings the title and the photos all together. And it also frees up some stars. I can still have stars in those same 3 places, but also have stars over here in a 4th location that allows me to tie in my journaling with the rest of the page. So using those red stars, but I didn't want to use the red stars as they were. I felt like I really wanted to back them on the white circles because A, the white circles are there, so it's an option, and B, because it ties in with the white stars that I'm using. So I took a photo with my phone just so that I could be aware of where everything was originally, so that when I put it back down, I can put it in the right places. I'm using my Tombow Mono Multi Adhesive here, which is a liquid glue that dries to a matte finish, so if anything oozes out, you can't necessarily see it all that well. So I'm placing those lights so that they look like they're kind of strung around the title, and filling in those empty spaces to the right of best and to the left of ever. And now I am referring quite a lot to my photo here just because I did really like how I had those stars lined up in the first place. So I'm trying to put them back in the same places. So these are my 3 main places where I put the stars so that they completely encapsulate the title and the photos. And I'm just applying the word wishes up to the top of this little journaling embellishment cluster up here in the top right hand corner. And then I will put a star here. And then this star here just goes down towards the other stars. I put a little bit too much glue there, so I had to use a paper towel to just wick up some of it before it smeared on my paper. So now I feel like this needs some more stars. So I went to my stash, and I have a stash of wood veneer stars from Studio Calico, and there's some other stars in there that are not wood veneer. But I just kind of keep all my loose stars together because I tend to use them in the similar applications. So I'm just kind of sprinkling them around the 4 clusters of stars, the 3 that are around the center, and then the one that's over by the journaling. And then my video is corrupted for the rest of this process. I'm so sorry. So I've gone back and done a bit of a share of the last details, so that video will come next. So I had a corrupt file in my process video, and so I was not able to share with you guys the final touches on this layout. You did see me put it all together, except for right up until I glued down the wood veneer stars. The next thing that I did with the stars was I painted them with this smooch ink. And the color I used was, what's it called? Moonlight. And what I really like about this ink is that it has this applicator, and you didn't see me do this, so I will just show you. Let me just grab a wood veneer here. So it has an applicator that's a lot like a nail polish. So I'm just grabbing a star. It has an applicator that's a lot like a nail polish applicator, except that it's hard. So it's soft at the very tip. I don't know if you can quite see that, but it's soft at the very tip, but it's hard. So if you were to paint this with a nail polish brush, the brush would be a lot softer and it would be moving around a lot. So this is more of a wand, I guess you might call it. It's a soft-ish wand. And it doesn't have individual bristles, it's more of a solid tip that you can apply the ink with. So when I'm painting wood veneer with this, I do go over it twice, just because the wood veneer soaks up anything, unless if you gessoed it first, but I don't want to bother with that. So that is what it looks like when it's painted with the smooch ink. And then the next thing I did was I went over it with ice stickles, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about ice stickles, which are a chunkier form of stickles. And I have a little bit of video that did not corrupt that talks about how I use it and some tips about using stickles. And so this is what the ice stickles and the smooch ink looks like on these stars when it's fully dried. So the stickles are dried and the ink is dried. And what I really like about this is that the stars are lighter than they would have been if I left them natural wood, but they still have a creamy look to them. They're not as stark white as these stars are. And I really like that because there's a lot of different kind of variations of cream and this wood veneer color, and then this really light craft paper color, and so this just gives you one more variation of that. I think that's all that you missed. You also missed me put on this little embellishment here. This is a resin embellishment from Freckled Fawn, and quite a while before Christmas I decided that I was not going to get a Christmas themed like a December daily kit, or the stocking stuffer kit from Scraptastic is what I would have gotten if I was getting something. But I decided I wasn't going to get that, so instead I got the Freckled Fawn Christmas embellishment kit. And it comes with a whole bunch of things that you could use for pocket pages, and that's sort of why I bought it. But I knew that there was a resin embellishment that was like a gift in there, and so I went searching for that and put that on there. There was a red one as well, but the red one was just too much. The red one would have coordinated because it's red, and that was the color that I was adding to this layout, but it competed too much with the wish list, so I went with the cream, and it's a very subtle, it just fills that space there quite nicely without adding a huge design element to it. So I really like how that looks. And I just centered it below the wish list, and I did have to move the wish list flare up a little bit. So the only things that are not from the kit are the present embellishment and the wood veneer stars and the piece of cream packaging from the embossing folder. So the other thing that I did that you didn't see me do was I smooched the wishes. And it's very subtle, very hard to see because it was white anyways, and now it's just like a pearlized white. And the way that I did that, because it was already on the page, is I just took this, you can see that it's got the little places where I went over. I just put this right underneath of it, like that, so that if I went off the page at all, it would not go on the background paper behind it. And then I smooched it, and then I took it off like that. So I think that's it. I'm really sorry that my process didn't record. It looked like it recorded. It was like 21 minutes. The last 21 minutes of my layout was kind of just a still picture of my hands like this. So I don't know what that's all about. I'm going to reformat my card so that that definitely doesn't happen again. Hi guys, I thought I'd talk a little bit about Stickles. They're an older supply. They're nothing new to scrapbookers, but and I've had mine for a while. I've only just added 1 or 2 bottles recently. You can still buy them, but they're a really great product to have on hand. I collected mine fairly slowly early on in my scrapbooking life, and I've only added a couple recently. I maybe have bought 2 over the past year or 2, and I really love them because they last for a really long time. They're much neater way to use glitter than loose glitter. So I keep my Stickles and glitter in the same drawer. This is a drawer in my Michael's cubes that I keep my scrapbooking supplies in. So it says Stickles on it. I do have dry glitter in here, but I never use it. I hate dry glitter. It's so messy, and I just don't enjoy using it at all. I don't like the process of it. If I liked the process, I would put up with the messiness, but I just don't enjoy it. So what I really love about Stickles is that you can paint them on. So I'll tell you a little bit about the types of Stickles that I have. I have some regular Stickles. This is yellow, one of my very favorite colors. And then I also have ice Stickles, which is what I just used on this layout right here, and these have larger chunks of glitter. I only have 1 of these. I bought this one. It's called Crystal Ice is the color of this one, and the ice Stickles, as I mentioned, have larger chunks of glitter, and this one is sort of has iridescent color to it, and it dries to look a lot like flakes of snow. So that's why I like to have this one. That's why I bought this one, and I didn't bother buying any of the other ones because I typically don't need chunky glitter. This classic Stickles has a fine glitter in it. And then I also have some distress Stickles. This is one in Vintage Photo, and these have pieces of mica in it instead of I think they're mica. Anyways, they're not as glittery at all. They're more of little pieces of metal with a metallic look to it. I'm pretty sure it's mica. So I will show you what they look like. One of my tips for Stickles is that it's a good idea to have a swatch. I'm not big on swatches for most things. I don't swatch my ink, but I do swatch my Stickles because they do look quite a bit different in the bottle than they do on paper. So every time I get a new Stickles, I just add it to this chart here. And the chart looks like this. I also swatch my smooch inks, and I was going to swatch my Perfect Pearls, but I didn't decide to do that. So anyhow, this is what the Stickles look like dry. So you see that the ice Stickles dries into like a little chunk of chunky glitter. And then these are all of the other colors of Stickles that I have. These are all classic Stickles, so they're quite glittery. The lime green is my favorite. Patina is another favorite of mine. It's got lime green and turquoise in it together. And then turquoise and waterfall is really pretty. I love these. And then there's one of my new ones is Seafoam. And then this is what the distress Stickles look like. So they really just add some texture to a project. I use these more in mixed media applications than in scrapbooking. They look really nice smeared on thickers, on the same colored thickers. So I've smeared these onto green thickers before, and they just add a little bit of texture to the thickers. So they're not something that I use all the time, but I'm really happy to have some Stickles in my stash. So the way that I store my Stickles inside of this drawer is in these watch boxes. So I have these 2. This is kind of one watch box. The watch came like this. And They're a really great, they're the perfect size for storing stickles. They store more easily in the top than in the bottom, but they are a perfect size for storing stickles. I like to store my stickles upside down because you don't get as many air bubbles when you're using it, and air bubbles can kind of cause splatter on your project. So I do store them upside down. It keeps the product all down in the nozzle, and it allows you to not have that problem with air bubbles. I just want to show you the difference in the nozzles between a classic, and Distress is the same as classic, and the ice stickles. So very fine nozzle for the classic stickles and a wider nozzle for the ice stickles because there are bigger pieces of glitter that have to come out. For my stickles, and then the other tip that I have for using stickles is that they take a long time to dry, so be really ready for that. The other thing that I like to do is keep a roll of washi tape, and I like a thicker roll of washi tape, and as I'm using my stickles in between using it, I'll just store my stickles like this so that I don't lose, because especially when they're almost empty, you get way less air bubbles if you store them upside down. And I just like to keep them upside down while I'm using them, so if I take a break, I'll just put it just like that, and it won't drip out of the bottom, although it is right now. It doesn't usually drip out of the bottom. So that's another tip that I have. And the other thing is that I like to keep some craft toothpicks. So these, I think I got them at Michael's. They come in a bag like this, and it was completely full, and I used them for the kids for putting glue on things, and they've got a thick, and they're just bigger and easier to hold on to than regular toothpicks, and they have a big end for applying things more liberally, and then they also have a fine end for being more precise about how you're going to apply things. And so you saw me use it basically when I went to put the stickles on this, it came out in a really big blob, so I used this to move it around, and then I ended up really just using this to apply it. So I would apply the stickles to this and then wipe it onto the wood veneers. So those are my tips for using stickles. Hope you guys... So I'm sorry for the Franken video of randomly stitched together clips here and missing pieces, so I'm sorry about the quality of this video. I just didn't want to go to all the trouble of doing it and not share it with you guys. So here are some close-ups of how the layout turned out. The stickles are still wet for this part of it, but they're dry for the photos, I believe. And so I mean, my main goal for this was to be able to scrapbook these pictures of my kids in their purple pajamas with lots of blue and orange in the background of the photo. And I think sticking to red works. Certainly red doesn't really match or coordinate with the colors in the photo. But I think that it contrasts nicely with the colors in the photo and allows your eye to really go to the colors, to the photo, and take that in without it really, I don't think it clashes. I think it looks okay. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this crazy ride on this layout, and I'm hoping to sort out what the problem is with my video card. So take care. I hope you all are having a really great scrappy week.